Hey everyone, I um uh I'm Funk, that's it. I forgot the name. Uh Also Justin with a Y. Don't call me Justin with an I or I'll block you. So I'm just gonna be upfront with you guys. I forget my own identity on a regular basis, so it's gonna be hard for me to just go YouTuber mode because I forget my own mannerisms regularly and I have to recalibrate my personality just to talk in front of an audience. Doesn't help, I'm so antisocial, and it certainly does not help how inactive I am. It's really easy when you're not around people all the time to just go mute protagonist mode, and not like Wind Waker Link mute protagonist where you're really expressive. I'm talking like Ocarina of Time Link or like Breath of the Wild Link, where you're just kind of maneuvering through your environment, but you're not really being a person. You're not really putting on a persona through all of that. And I guess that's all just to say that, where's Funk been? Where have I been? I've just been going snail mode. So the point of this video is to crack out of my shell, talk to you guys a bit about how I got to that point, where I'm at now, what you can expect in the future, just a good old quarterly catch-up commentary. So where have I been? Well, I've been around the block. I moved around 4 times last year, which kept me busy, but really is not a good excuse to be inactive, right? The main catalyst of my inactivity is a lot more complicated. At the tail end of last year, I was going through a lot of emotional, mental, and physical traumas involving people in my life that I had to address before I was anywhere ready to, get up on the stage and be Funk again. I don't want to go into the detail of some of these traumas because it's private. Some of it's pretty fucked up, and a lot of it is stuff I can only tell my therapist because it's just not healthy to vent about online. But essentially, I was going through a mental health crisis. I was completely socially isolated. I was smoking way too much weed, not working enough. I was getting medicated for anxiety and depression. And all while I was trying to work through these issues, I was in an environment where the people I lived with would hide my medication from me regularly. They would have me questioning my judgment and my ability to make decisions regularly. There were multiple occurrences of physical harm, of verbal abuse, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't in some way provoking aggression at certain points, but I was going through a mental health crisis, and the people around me were not helping me get any better. And the summation of this was basically I felt trapped in my environment. I didn't feel like I could be Funk. I barely even felt like I could keep Justin glued together. I was taking my life day by day, sometimes hour by hour, just because I couldn't think any further ahead than that. And I basically watched as months and weeks passed by as I slowly disassociated from myself. I didn't even really recognize myself after a certain point because I had fallen so out of all of my hobbies, out of all of my habits, out of all of my social groups that I didn't even really recognize the life I was living anymore. I felt like I was just an NPC sitting in my own head, spectating myself. This crumbling sense of identity made it really hard to calibrate how I acted, and I ended up doing a lot of really irrational things. I crashed my car just because I was driving erratically. Ended up severely straining a lot of friendships I have just because I didn't know how to talk to people, and I pretty much felt ready to just abandon who I was as a person. I was for a while convinced that my Movement Shooters video was just going to be the last YouTube video I ever made because I couldn't come up with ideas anymore. I couldn't just have fun playing games because my brain was constantly in fight or flight mode. This really exasperated my feeling of being trapped because I couldn't escape this negative environment because I'm not making money, because I'm not working. But I'm not working because I'm in a shitty headspace, and I'm in a shitty headspace because I'm in a shitty environment. And so I just kept spiraling day by day, not really getting any better, just waiting for tomorrow and hoping the next day is a bit better than the last one. And on top of that, I kept feeling these symptoms of major emotional swings, of really intense emotional states that did not just feel like anxiety and depression. and all of the therapists that I had been talking to weren't giving me any meaningful feedback to understand that. And it really wasn't until the last one I've been talking to who floated the idea that I might have some mild forms of bipolar disorder that I realized that it's a bit more than just the big sad for me. My emotions swing a lot farther than most people's tend to do. So when I feel sad, I feel really fucking sad. And when I feel happy, I feel very, very energized. And my inability to regulate this state just meant that every day was like flipping a coin. Am I going to be in a great mood today? Or am I going to be under the covers till 2 p.m. just wishing that I didn't exist? Struggling to find a healthy middle ground between these two emotional states. My brain basically has like a superhuman ability to fixate on details. So if I get some bad news or just something that puts me in a bad mood, I'm almost incapable of just ignoring it or keeping myself occupied with something else. That bad news is all that occupies my head for the next 2 days. And so recently, a lot of my time has been spent trying to find solutions to this problem, so to find healthier practices that keep me from slipping down a spiral rabbit hole of negative thought. For example, I've pretty much cut weed entirely out of my life, whereas I used to smoke it pretty regularly because I felt like it mellowed me out, was kind of a good creative tool. I found it also really exacerbated my sense of disassociation. But if I smoked weed, I felt like an alien in a human body, is like the best way to put it. And it was a great tool for numbing my thoughts, but it was not very good for facing my chemical imbalance. And it's made it even harder to function without it. It felt like whenever I was sober, I was being thrown into the lion's den, with the lions representing my emotions. And the only way I had a chance of facing them was lighting up a doobie or hitting a vape or some shit. And I didn't want to be that kind of person where I just couldn't function without it. So I just cut it out entirely. And while I'm not saying this to imply that there aren't benefits to people, because I'm a big proponent of just legalizing stuff, I've just found that when I smoke it, I've had a lot of close calls with early onset psychosis, and it's scared me off from really putting more stuff into my body. As I've made these changes to my life, I eat a bit more nutritiously, I sleep at more regular times, I found myself returning back to normal, and I feel like I can be funk again. But the next problem I'm facing is that it's been like 9 months, and I found myself changing as a person a lot in ways that are hard for me to present to an audience. Anyone that's showed up to a couple of my last streams probably noticed that I'm a lot more political than I ever was in the past. Reading about politics gave me a sense of grounding while I was going through all of these personality changes, and it felt like whoever I was, I could stay up to date with what was happening in the world around me, and it kind of kept me from disassociating and not feeling like a human. But as a result, when I try to go to my gamer-centric content and be like, by the way guys, eat the rich and fuck fascism, it's a bit of an awkward fit. To be clear, I don't have a problem with using my platform to be politically active or having conversations about it, but my concerns are more with it's so different from the person I've been in the past. And I've always tended to only talk about video games and TV shows and movies, that it's hard for me to move into a completely new domain and avoid the pitfalls of saying things that aren't true or just not being able to keep up with the conversation. And I guess the reason I say that is because I want to return to a normal state again, but part of that's going to have required to be open with people and just let you know that I'm really not the same funk that you might have known, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even 1 year ago. I don't say that as if like you can expect a change in my content in any way. It's really all going to be the same. And if you've followed me for a while, then you already know a lot of this. But I'm saying it more so you understand that my demeanor changes a lot. And I'm constantly learning who I am and relearning who I am and unlearning who I am. I don't really have a solid sense of self anymore. I would call it like a fluid personality where I might be like kind of a soft boy one day and a sharp boy the next. And as a result, that's how you end up with me, going weeks without making content, and then just reappearing like nothing happened. All things considered, I'm doing okay right now. I'm trying to socialize more often with my friends. Still trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing for a living, if you can even call this contented anymore. But you'll definitely see me around. Probably going to do more commentaries like this on the channel just because it feels a bit more comfortable than going live on Twitch. And honestly, it reaches a lot more of you this way. So you'll probably see me around on Fatunk. Don't know when the next main channel video is, but you honestly are used to that. So see you next time.